The way we work, the way we put things into our systems, and the way we motivate ourselves is all to do with progress as well. And our progress is only with us. We are our only competitor. But what we find we're doing, of course, is we're comparing ourselves and we're getting terrible comparisonitis. We're looking at other people's, how come they're doing so well? I hear it all the time. Everybody else seems to be doing so well. Why aren't I doing well? Or, and we've got to think to ourselves, is it that they're doing really well? Or is the honest fact they're doing well for what they can fit in, for where they are? And doing well for them might be 5 clients a week because they're doing all of the other things if you're part-time. Hello and welcome. Mentoring with Geraldine is a bite-sized practitioner podcast for naturopaths, nutritionists, herbalists and practitioners. This podcast responds directly to your needs, the needs of the practicing natural therapist. With interviews, herbal discussions, something business and something clinical each week, you'll get the variety you need and enjoy to stay motivated in practice. Hello and welcome to Mentoring with Geraldine and the Bite-Sized Podcast. So how are you? What is happening with you today? What have you got going through your mind? And especially if you've been listening to a lot of my podcasts, then you're really up to date. I'm talking about limiting beliefs at the moment, and we're on a bit of a roll with this, aren't we? Because we have so many limiting beliefs. And so we've talked about limiting beliefs in our work and what we do. And we talked about our health, didn't we? Our financials and how that can limit us, and our beliefs in our ability. Now, what I thought I would talk to you about today is that movement forward, that progress. So it's kind of some of the things we've been talking about all a little bit mixed in together, because coming up we've got the programs in practice weekend this weekend. It is very much this weekend. I've done everything I need to do. I hope I have set some emails up ready to go so that all I have to do is add links so that we're all ready to go in the group. The workbooks are done. I think everything's ready to go. Oh, please let everything be ready to go. It will be. I've done this as the 3rd time, I think, now that we've done this. And in November, it will be our 3rd retreat. So November is the virtual retreat, but we're actually having a physical retreat here as well. A VIP physical retreat. It's going to be very few people, though. A very small retreat because it's in my home. So in November, when that happens, we're going to be doing lots of things, but we're going to be working here. I've got a big family room, so redesigning it a bit, dining room table, we're going to be working at that. We're going to have time to do some team building activities. We do have one dinner out, and people have got time out to do what they want to do and check out the city. So very different. It's going to be very, we're going to get the work done, basically. That's how I like to do things. There's not a lot of woo in what I do. There's a tiny bit, but it's action focused, it's goal focused, what I do. So everybody, people are already saying they're coming. November's looking really exciting. But right now, that's super exciting is this weekend is programs in practice. And then I'm going to be talking to you about the challenge that is coming up, except I still need a new name for it because I don't want to call it challenge. So it does need a new name. So if you can think of a better name than challenge, let me know, because that is what's going to happen in 2 weeks' time within the academy. So we will have done our programs in practice, and then it's about implementing and telling the world about it. Not necessarily launching, because not everybody has a big client group, and that is the thing. We don't want to sound desperate to our clients. That has happened before with one of the people who did the programs and practice course, and they're just like, nobody's bought it. I was like, well, we've got to think about how we're presenting things. And I thought, well, maybe if we spend that time together working through it, sharing what we're doing, then we'll have that better uptake. I always had the uptake in the clinic it's kind of like selling a supplement, really, but it's a supplement of life. So, we're developing it this weekend. We're creating it. We're getting together to motivate ourselves to have this product that will probably remain unfinished until you have your first client on it, let's be honest. But the structure, the function, the system is all going to be developed over the weekend in our time together in the Academy time together. So this is part and parcel of being in the Academy of these two big days, the one in May and the other one in November, as well as, of course, all of the time that I spend with the people in the group. So now, limiting beliefs progress, and this relates specifically to this weekend. It really does, because when we think about our progress, we're thinking, I've talked about this before, what are we doing in 2, 5, 7, 10 years time? How are we looking forward? But when we're limiting ourselves in our progress, we're going, yes, well, in 5 years time, I will have a practice with, 20 people a week coming to see me. And then we get to 3 years close to that 5. Oh no, well actually it doesn't really work for me. Maybe it'll be in 5 years time. So you've added another 2. Or that I can just change and restructure that progress to fit my limiting belief. So the way we work, the way we put things into our systems, and the way we motivate ourselves is all to do with progress as well. And our progress is only with us. We are our only competitor. But what we find we're doing, of course, is we're comparing ourselves and we're getting terrible comparisonitis. We're looking at other people's, how come they're doing so well? I hear it all the time. Everybody else seems to be doing so well. Why aren't I doing well? Or, and we've got to think to ourselves, is it that they're doing really well? Or is the honest fact they're doing well for what they can fit in, for where they are? And doing well for them might be 5 clients a week, because they're doing all of the other things if you're part-time. I always reach saturation with clients. So if I've got more than 15 clients in a week, I have to have someone working with me to support me. So I was back in the day, up until 2019, I would employ my sidekick to come in. So the other naturopath that worked with me, she would be here with me during my consults so that I was able to power through 10, 15 in a day, because I'd gone over my own natural limit of how many I could see by myself in my space and do everything. So I've always had that natural limit. So if I'm full, but I was full at 15. So we've got to think, where is my progress without comparing myself to others, but rather comparing myself to myself? Is it that I go into overwhelm at 15 like Geraldine does, and so I have to change things or do it differently to go over that number per week? This was something I didn't realize. I thought that I wanted more clients. I was sort of plateauing at about 15, and I couldn't quite understand what was going on. And I did my first mentoring course and I still couldn't understand what was going on. And then I did another mentoring course. I still couldn't understand what was going on. And then it just actually dawned on me when I had someone start working for me that I had a natural upper limit of the number of one-to-one people I could see in a week before I became overwhelmed. My empathy was sucked out of me and I became exhausted. So some people are like machines and they can see someone after, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they can just keep going. But I'm not like that. And so when we look at our progress, we have to look at what fits in for us. But do we have a limiting belief? So I had this limiting belief of 15. Right? That was it. And then, I'd have 20 booked in and I would have 5 cancel or, just move. They never just cancelled and went away, but they'd move to another week for whatever reason. And I was like, phew. Oh, I'm down to 15. How is this? I'm down to 15. Then I was like, hang on a minute. Let's put someone next to me because this week's particularly busy. I was going away. I had a lot of people I needed to see. And I had Katrina covering for me while I was away. And so I booked everyone in and I booked her in as well. And everyone came and I had no problems. I had no limiting beliefs because I had that other person who was able to mix up the herbs, who was doing all of the other things that you're trying to multitask while you're seeing that client one-to-one if you're working by yourself and for yourself. So I did have a limiting belief. That was my upper limit. And I kept sticking with that for years and years and years until I changed the way I worked. So it might be that you need to change the way you work so that you can add that program to it so that you're not repeating yourself over and over again to your clients, but you're actually sharing with them your knowledge of years and years, and they're learning and growing from that. And that is in turn increasing your retention of your clients because they're understanding, learning more, they're changing, their habits are getting that support to change, and everything is happening, and you're able to then extend beyond that upper limit and progress. So when we progress, it's not just about learning something new. It's not just about doing another course. It's about looking at us, our systems, how we work, and going, how can I change this to better what I'm doing? What can I improve? Sometimes in the simplest ways. It might be that somebody else takes their kids to school and your life is suddenly so much easier. I've got to say, as soon as my son got his P plate, so in Australia we have a system where you have a learner driver and they've got an L on the windscreen and on the front and the back of the car. In South Australian rules, so we have an L on the front and the back of the car, and they have to do 70 hours, which is kind of mid-range. Each state has its own number of hours, with a licensed driver in the car with them. And there's limits to who they can carry in the car, what they can do, all of these things. Then they go onto a P plate. Again, there's limits. They're only allowed one friend in the car with them. They're allowed as many family members as they want. They have to be home by midnight, but they don't have to have a licensed driver. So I didn't have to sit in the car with my son. So my son could drive, his sister to school. He could drive the car. And that just suddenly, I had time. I didn't have to rush around in the 2 rush hours of the day collecting children and doing all the things. I would then my son would take both of them and he'd drop his sister to something and then carry on to something else, and then I might be the one who went and picked her up. But it means that because I had this extra bit of time for my head space as well as my physical space, because someone else was driving, because of course that's very stressful anyway, I could progress with what I was doing. I could expand. I could think about what was going on with me. I wasn't overwhelmed with my home life as well as my business life, and I was able to change things up significantly. So how can you increase your progress bar? What can you add to it? What limiting belief do you have that's holding you back from progress? Is it a physical limiting thing that can be changed and shaken up? Or is it a personal thing, like my maximum 15 was a personal limiting belief on my progress? Okay, so those are just our little ones today. It's not very long today because I have got programs and practice at the weekend. There's still time to join the academy. I mean, it's $47 and you can join the academy and you can be there for the whole day. And then we've got a Q&A in a couple of weeks. And then we're going to start the challenge, not challenge, what are we going to call it? So that we actually spend the end of May and June going out and actually sharing this, with people. All right, sharing what we've created and making sure that we've got enough of it done to be able to offer it out. I'm not saying that it should all be absolutely finished, but I will explain on the weekend to everybody what I feel needs to be done so that you know where you're going. That's what we're doing at the weekend. We're going to create it together. So I present, then we have time, 15 minutes to nut things out, and then we go through things, we nut things out in the time so that we can really sort out what it really is that we want in our practice and how we want to have that program and share it, do it, create it, and then get it out to the world. So just a quickie from me today. I hope you're having an absolutely brilliant rest of day and things are going really well for you. Do let me know. Get in contact, Geraldine at mentoringwithgeraldine.biz, and tell me how you're going, because I'd love to know. I answer all my emails. I answer everything that comes to me. So have an absolutely brilliant one, and I look forward to catching up with you really soon. Thanks so much for joining me today. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast for the weekly episodes. If you'd like even more support and learning, then the Academy is for you. Here you'll find part 2 of the herbal discussions, more clinical learning, and case studies to support your clients in practice. Bye for now.